Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. It's Doug Cunnington here. Today, we're going to talk about what to do if you're losing traffic. Maybe you've been hit by an algorithm update. Maybe your site is on a slow decline. It's been hitting a lot of people lately, especially these recent algorithm updates. I think there was one in May, and then it kind of, I don't know, Google was tweaking it a little bit. And then I think in the last week or so, there's been more of it. I think my audio might not be working. Let's check and see what's going on. Can you guys hear me out there? Hello, hello. Okay, maybe I can hear myself now. Just I was recording a podcast earlier, so do let me know in the chat if you can hear me. We have Daniel on. Welcome, and Gaz as well. So thanks for hopping on, and let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're listening from. Say hello. If you're watching the replay later, that's great. Most people do watch the replay, and I appreciate everyone that watches it later. Maybe it's not a convenient time. Maybe you like to watch at 2x speed. That's a pro tip there. Leave a comment. Let us know what's going on with you, even if you're watching it many hours later. We have Cancel is on here as well, and everyone can hear me. So that's awesome. And we have Sanat, and Cancel is, someone said they're from Jamaica. Odane. And Yachin is from Vienna, Austria. Nice. Okay. Cool. So we'll go over some broad topics today about what you can do if your site's losing traffic. I'll answer some questions along the way. If you want to be informed about when these live streams happen, you could sign up below. There's like a notification link. And the thing is, YouTube is notoriously not that great at notifying the subscribers. Even people that ask to be notified, they many times are not notified. So I typically, not always, it's a pretty good percentage, but I typically send out an email ahead of time. I believe there are 68 or so people on that notification list. So you can sign up, and I send it out like an hour ahead of time or so. Just so you know, so you could hop on if you want to. Usually I put the topic in there if I have one specific. All right. And Sanit says you have a specific question that is approaching a content. It's okay. That sounds good. It's not on topic today, but we do answer questions, so maybe we'll hold it to the end unless you answer or if you ask it in a quick way. Oh, and Cheapstow is where Gaz is from. Wales. Awesome. Sanit's from India. Daniel out of London. Vince, what's up? Okay. A couple quick announcements. Let me scroll down and make sure I got them. All these things I'm about to say are in the description. So we have Ezoic Content Month. That's going on the whole month. We're, of course, a full week in. This is week 2. And actually, I am going to be on the live stream tomorrow for, I think we're talking about sort of SEO, building a brand, and general lifestyle topics. I invited a couple friends of mine to join me. So Matt Giovanisi and Miles Beckler. So some cool people that are not usually doing live streams in our little circle here. So we're going to be on the Ezoic stream over there. So you can follow the link in the description here for that. It'll be tomorrow at, I can't remember, I don't have my calendar up, but I think it's, I could look at my phone really quick here, but we're on tomorrow. It will be at, it appears to be 11 to 12 Mountain Time, 11 to 12 Mountain Time. So we're going to be on there. Tyler Bishop is going to be with us and sort of facilitating, pushing it along, and adding his own 2 cents as well. So thanks a lot to Ezoic, who they sponsor these streams. You can check out their product Leap. It helps your website load faster. We also have Otis Global, the source for premium and age domains. I will talk about feature domain later. I didn't record it earlier, so we're just going to pick one and talk about it. So we'll do that. All right. Let's get into a couple things, and let me know, everyone, if you have been impacted by declining traffic. Just let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments, and you can be specific. You may have to put in a couple messages, but you can say like, hey, my site's X amount old. I was getting this much traffic. Traffic went down by this percentage, and here's when it happened. I think people will find some patterns, some trends out there, and that's sort of the idea here. Like maybe we can identify some patterns and trends when I get into the material here in a second. Daniel wisely says, smash the like button. Yeah, we're up to 10 already, so that's pretty good. Let's see here. Let's go on back up here. Alan, Chloe, what's up from Canada? And Odane says, did you hear about the outages at the Google data center, which messed up the index? And I didn't hear about that, but that sounds like the opening to a joke. I'd love to know the punchline. Did you guys hear the one about the outages at the Google data center? It messed up the index. And then what? I don't know. What's the punchline? I think we can come up with something good. Helen, what's going on? Good to see you on here. And Need Mo Fishin', what's up? Kinzel from Pakistan. All right. Jason's on also. Okay, Sanit has this question here. I feel like I'm coming in the middle of a story. Let's roll with it and see what happens. Where he had posted, he had got more than 5,500 backlinks simply putting content through researched, just getting data and facts combined into article max 1,200 words long. Okay. Can you rephrase that a little bit differently? Not sure. Is this an AI writer? Is that an AI writer? Somebody's trolling me out there. Okay. Nemo Fishin says this. You had a sudden drop of 61% in traffic for an information-based site. Google suddenly stopped showing my site for highly relevant keywords and had to hire an SEO agency to figure out why. Not sure why. So did they not come up with anything? Did they give you anything to work on? John says, good morning. I had a drop in traffic. I think high DA sites surpassed my post and I stopped working on the site. However, a few other posts started to make a comeback. 1.5 year old site, or 1.5 year, 1 year half old site. Is that a year and a half? Half a year? A year, give or take? 100 posts. Okay. Sanit says, okay, I'm going to have to get control of this because I think we're going in circles here. Sanit says I was referring to brain of backlinko. Are you using AI to write these messages? Yeah. Sanit, regroup, get your thoughts together, and then type it in a full thought. Let me know if it's a question or just a statement too, because I think I was just reading out words. Okay. If your site has gone down in traffic, there's a few areas to look at. Oftentimes, it's going to line up, but not always, but often it's going to line up with an algorithm update. That's when a lot of people have sort of churn, right? So sometimes you're a winner, sometimes your site goes up, sometimes you're a loser, sometimes your site goes down. If you have multiple sites, like this interview is not published, but I talked to Ariel just the other day, and she has a few sites in her portfolio. One site was hit, others were not. And talked to Adam Smith at Niche Website Builders, and he had some winners and some losers. So that is the advantage of having multiple sites. I am a big proponent of focusing on one site, But when your site is hit by an algorithm update and you only have one, there's not much recourse. There's no other chance of winning. If your site's hit, then it's hit. The advantage, of course, is focus and potentially making a lot more progress with one site versus making a small amount of progress on multiple sites. Like everything, there's almost no perfect answer. You have trade-offs. So often people, state it, even me, right? So I'm like, oh, just work on one site. You're going to be better off. You're going to be better off most of the time. But if your site gets hit by an algorithm update, you have no other sites that you can lean on. Everything's a trade-off. There's no perfect answer. So keep that in mind as we go along here. So there's a few areas to look at. I'm going to do kind of rapid fire. Today is most likely going to be a shorter session. I had to start a little bit later because of some other obligations earlier this morning. And turned out I finished them early, so I just played guitar. But because of that, we're still gonna end. I think I don't know if Alex is back to do a live stream. Someone can let me know in the chat if Alex is doing his live stream at 12:30. But anyway, it'll be a slightly shorter session today. I'm gonna go over a couple things quickly that you can look at. And I made some notes, and then I accidentally crumpled up the paper and threw it in the trash. But I got it out of the trash. So I'm going to read you some of those notes. So most things with SEO come down to the content, which I think a lot of us focus on content, and then the backlinks. There's other pieces, but usually they fall into those two categories. So if your site is declining in traffic, whether it's an algorithm update or if it's just kind of a slow decline, one of the things you should definitely look at, and look at it sort of independently on your own site, but then also look at your competitors as well. Look at the amount of content that you have and the quality, and step away, even if you have to get a friend to look at it or something, but detach yourself from the content a little bit and look at it objectively and think about whether you actually think it's quality content. We looked at, some people's sites a few weeks ago just about what quality content is. And sometimes, if you're too close to it, you don't realize that the content is kind of low quality. If you're hiring a company to do it and they are doing a average to below average job and you're not going back and editing it, you could be publishing lower quality content. If you're new to this stuff and you're not sure what content should look like, you may not know. So, you could check out that video that we did a few weeks ago, and I just read over some people's sites and I was like, this is good, this is not good, maybe work on these areas. This is not so bad, but maybe it's a little redundant. So look at the content quality. Look at your publishing schedule. Are you publishing a lot of new content? The more you publish, the more opportunities you do have to rank. I'm not saying, although I think some people do say, I'm not personally saying like publishing content helps your site rank better. I think that was sort of like common wisdom, common recommendations back in the day. But I don't think you get a ranking bump because you're publishing on a consistent basis. But if you're publishing new content on a regular basis, and those are low competition keywords or the right competition for the level of your website, there's a good chance that you're going to get more traffic and rank better. Google does seem to favor publishing new content a little bit. There's something about the recency and that sort of thing. I haven't looked at data, but that's what everyone's telling me, right? The other piece of that is improving your old content and going back and making it better, adding new information, adding new images, just making it better in general. Google has said a few times on live streams, and you could find this documented in places, Google has said they want us to be spending half of our time publishing new content and the other half improving old content. 50%. That's a lot of time. And it's a little bit different, than what maybe we thought we should be doing, especially when you're hearing examples of people publishing, you know, 10, 20 articles a week or something like that. You're thinking, oh, I just got to publish new stuff. I don't have the resources or the time to improve the old content. So you may have to reallocate your resources and your effort so that you're improving old content while you're still publishing new content. So you'll have to take a look. All of that together, right? You're looking at your own site. Also go look at your competitors. Definitely your peers that are kind of the same level as your site, but also like the sites that are bigger than yours are more, bigger and more authoritative, and just generally they've been around longer. So look at those sites as well and see what they're doing. And I'll pause here. I know the chat's been going pretty good. So look at your own content on your site. Look at the competitors' content too. When you're looking at the competitors' content, you're looking for patterns. It's not going to be easy for you to detect right away. You're going to have to look at certain queries. You're going to have to look at multiple sites and keep notes, look for patterns, look for gaps in what you're covering, how you're covering things on the specific post. But as you look at different queries and different SERP results, as you're going and reading the content and you're looking at the images they have, the way they cover the content, the subheadings, when you're looking at all those details, you're going to need to keep notes or just start forming a sort of pattern recognition in your head when you're looking at all these other sites that are doing well. What are they doing that you're not doing? It's probably not going to fall out of the sky. It's not going to be obvious when you look at one or two. You're going to have to look at, several different keywords. You're going to have to look at dozens of different sites. It's going to be a little bit of a mess. You're just gathering information, but the hope is you'll see some pattern that you'll be able to recognize that is not happening on your site. Or maybe there's some big gap that you just don't realize. So I'll stop here for a second. Take a look at the chat. Thanks everyone for keeping this going here. Oh, and Odin says there's a search engine roundtable story on the Google data outage or something like that. Okay. And Gaz says, my main hobby site is starting to grow. It started to go vertical. Awesome. It's very good. Need Mo Fishin says, how much does negative SEO or toxic SEO play a role in a traffic drop? I would say most of the time, probably not too much, but negative SEO is real, and the toxic links can happen. And I think Google's much better than they used to be at recognizing this sort of negative SEO idea. However, if there's enough happening for a long enough period, it can still impact your site. So if you keep track of things, you should be kind of okay. And Helen's trying to help out. He means Brian. It's Brian Dean in Backlinko. I mean, I know who he is. It's just the question is coming in a nonsensical way. So thank you, Helen, though. You're much kinder than I am. Philip says, I lost 50% of the traffic in May, and then it bounced back, and now it's down again. What should I do? Leave it or publish? Okay. Yep. And we'll get into, so first, you should probably do the analysis that I just mentioned, looking at the content. I'll talk about the links in a second as well. But when you're faced with this, what should you do? You probably, you're 50%, so that's not as bad as some people have heard, lost like 80% of the traffic or so. So think about it. If it's like a, kind of hobby project like Gaz mentioned, if it's something that you don't really care about. But if you're somewhat interested or passionate about the topic area and you're like, I could work on this for 5 years, then I would maybe stick with it. I would maybe stick with it and assume that I'm also assuming that it's a mostly informational site, or at least 50% informational. The content's high quality. If it is high quality content and you think your site should be ranking better, I would probably just push on and keep going with it. If you're not too interested in the topic area, if it's not that much fun, I would maybe move on. If you are clearly doing some stuff that was, on the borderline of acceptable, if it's like a ton of just affiliate reviews, poor quality content, then you obviously know that, you were cutting corners in certain places. And, again, everything's a trade-off. So I'm not judging if someone is publishing low quality content that can work in certain scenarios. All right. And Rick, what's going on? Rick's here. Alan reminds us that Backlinko is now owned by SEMrush. Yep, that is correct. That's been several months here. And people were telling me that Alex is not going live today. Okay. Still on vacation. All right. And Couch is in Payson, Arizona. Cool, having breakfast. Nice. And then John says, is it down to constantly producing quality content? I have done check that and found a heap of ways to improve and many poor quality posts. Cool. And again, we're going to come to the link stuff in a second too, because I think especially in the YouTube sphere that many of us are in, there's just a huge emphasis on content, and everyone, I'll go ahead and say everyone is they're a little lazy about the link building. It fucking sucks, right? No one really wants to do it, but the sites that are doing really well, the sites that don't have trouble indexing new content, the sites that clearly have high authority is, it's the backlinks. They typically have a lot of backlinks. I was on a coaching call yesterday. Someone asked me about what I'm doing with my site that has not been hit by any of the algorithm updates. Is about 2 years old right now. Knock on wood, not impacted by any of the algorithm updates. It's mostly informational. It's probably average to slightly above average quality content. It's not super stellar or anything like that. There's a lot of backlinks though. There's a lot of very good backlinks. Few hundred referring domains, DR domain rating of, high 40s to mid 50s or so, somewhere in there. And that's one of the big differences. And of course, your sites can get hit whether you have links or not. But most of the people that I'm talking to these days, they're not building links. They're like, well, I'm just publishing high quality content. Those are most of the people that I talk to that have been hit. Now I know the thing is, we could find tons of examples of sites that didn't publish or that don't have many backlinks, that do have a lot of backlinks, that were hit or not hit. So I don't want to get into that comparison, but yeah, backlinks make a big difference. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, Kyle's on. What's going on? Kyle says, how do you prioritize which content to update on your sites? For me, I'm typically looking at sort of the top 20% of the pages that are getting most of the traffic already. They're doing well, and typically I'm like, okay, I want to add more content to that. Google already likes this page, and it'd be great if I can get more keywords, more long tail keywords to pull in traffic to those pages. So that's my logic there. Another similar way to look at it, or maybe to add to it, is to look at your content and keywords that are ranking in the, say, number 2 to number 10 position. Those are on the cusp of potentially moving up in the ranks, and going from like number 3 to number 1 is going to bring you a ton more traffic. It's not intuitive. You'll be surprised when you move up from, anywhere to like number 1, or if you're moving from like number 6 to number 2, you're going to get a lot more traffic. So if you look at the pages on your site that are already getting a lot of traffic, that are ranking well, and then you look at the queries and the pages that are on the cusp of ranking well, work on those. Actually, I don't know if I did this, but some people are like, oh, I look at things that are ranking in the 30s or 40s, and I want to move those up. And the thing is, even if you improve it by like 25 positions or something, you're still out of the top 10. So I'm not saying don't spend time where you're not getting traction, but if you spend time where you are getting traction, it may be less effort to get better results. So that's how I prioritize. John says they have they have content writers and loads of content in the backyard niche. My DA has gone up amazingly. Okay, cool. Then Need Mo Fishin says Ezoic has a good video on doing initial search in Google Analytics and Google Search Console, checking for ranking, customer behavior, checking backlinks. Really informative. Cool. Okay, and Gus says he's been link building like mad. Cool. And Helen says, do you have to reindex posts that you improve? You don't have to. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. If you're trying to like monitor the results more quickly, if you re-index or if you force index in the Search Console, then you may get results a little bit more quickly. John says, yeah, you're right, but isn't that why people focus on high quality content before they start backlinking campaigns, so they have the leverage to ask? That's a reasonable assumption. I don't know. I think people are actually scared to, try to build links and try to promote their site in any way. And then, the site that I'm talking about, I started building links as soon as like 10 articles were posted. And by the way, even for like niche site project, because you may be thinking, maybe you could do that for a certain site. I did it for niche site project. And if you're launching a company, if you're launching a brand, a new website, it's not weird for you to go out and try to promote it. That's what marketers do. So it's not unusual. People may put up the artificial hurdle for themselves and say, well, I need to have stuff on my site before I can ask someone to link to it. That is just not true. It is a good way to, focus your efforts, but there's a lot of people they're like, I'm not quite sure how to build backlinks, or if they even tried, they like followed a process and then it didn't work out that well, because you have to adapt and kind of pivot and figure out the right way to handle things. But a lot of people just don't want to do it. And there are plenty of examples, plenty of people doing YouTube videos or publishing on their blogs, and they're like, I only focus on the content and that's all I'm working on. I completely ignore backlinks. And that can totally work. Yeah. But one final point on the backlink idea is we have EAT, right? We have expertise, authority, and trust. And there's the rater guidelines, right? We have the rater guidelines that we can go and check out and see what happens when a rater goes and checks out your site. The thing is, I don't know this for a fact, but I am pretty sure that Google is not manually rating our websites unless there's a specific reason to do so, which I assume is very rare. So how is Google assessing expertise, authority, and trust? Well, we can fill out an about page and put some information in there, right? That's great. We can even put links to where our like professional certifications are. We can put links to, other references, other reference material that proves who we are and that we're experts in something. But we could write whatever we want on our about page, and we could link to whatever we want as well. And I ask you, audience, do you think that anyone, like any of us, can put anything we want in the about page and it's really not provable, right? Like we can write that we're a physician, or we can write that we're a lawyer and we're qualified in these areas. But unless it's verifiable externally, then there's not really much to it. You can write whatever you want. And no one's manually verifying this unless, again, there's a specific reason. These are all my assumptions. So, where do we think the expertise, authority, and trust comes from? Well, what do we know that Google does care about? Well, quality content, but that's beside the point here. They check links. Links are a key component in rankings. Very key component. So my assumption is your authority and your trust and your expertise comes from the external links primarily. That is my assumption. That is what I guess, because otherwise it's almost impossible to check. You can write whatever you want on your about page, say you're the most qualified person in the world, but unless you have backlinks from places that do hold that authority, it doesn't hold any water at all. You can write anything you want. We have a few questions here, so we will answer those. But first, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Otis Global, the source for age domains with strong branding and premium backlinks. I think I'm just mixing up words. Otis premium domain names are the top choice for SEO experts and entrepreneurs looking to build a niche business, launch a new brand, or maximize their results. Let's take a quick look at one of these fine domains. And there's a great filtering mechanism over here, so you actually can filter some things out. For some reason, we have this great filtering mechanism, and I don't see any of the little thingies I could check. So chalk it up to me doing this live. Let's take a look at one of these here. Ooh, keyword eye. This sounds like a fun one. 13 years old, 1,265 unique referring domains, 8 high authority backlinks. And I would say if you're going to maybe build a keyword research tool, this would be a pretty good one. So their monetization angle is perfect for hosting an authority site focused on SEO and PPC solutions, how-to guides, success stories, case studies, and so on. Yeah, I think you could launch a whole brand out of this. And if you had a keyword research tool, that would be amazing. And it was actually a visual keyword and competitor research tool. So you could stick in that area, highly profitable area. Links from Search Engine Journal, Moz, Product Hunt, Market Screener, Search Engine Watch as well, Social Media Today, Search Engine Land, SEMrush, and on and on. Tons of great links. Google, and some that are smaller that I can't read. Business Insider.de. So tons of domains over there on Otis. If you join using my affiliate link, you can get $100 in your account, which I appreciate. And if you actually buy something, I might get a commission, which I greatly appreciate. And thanks to Otis. And if you have a second, follow the link, go over there, and even if you don't want to buy anything, you can ping them and say, hey, thanks for supporting the live streams. Okay, let's get back to the questions here. All right. Sanit says, would you prefer to write articles that have 80% of content based on stats and facts than 5,000 words which are not having any stats or data to back up? If those are my only two choices, I would probably have 1,200 words. But the good thing is those are not the only two choices. You could do anything in between or outside those bounds. But if those are my only two choices, then I would do the 1,200 word. What would you do? Bunko says, what do you have to say about using stock images for the articles? Do one have to use original images? You can use stock images. I think that's fine. If you use original images, it could be a little bit better, especially if you have product reviews. If you have any way to create unique original images for product reviews, that'll be good. And Jillian says, backlinks from sites with a higher authority than yours is what will give you EAT. Elna Wrights says, I agree with your assessment about EAT. I feel when other bigger publications and sites title you as the expert in your niche, that'll help grow, but links are what Google counts. Very good. Yeah. So a couple people do agree with that. And I think, we were like, oh, I put a really good about page on there. And that is good. You probably should do that. The about page from a link building perspective, I think John mentioned it earlier. People try to publish, they want to have high quality content on their website. You just need a few articles and then an about page that is solid. If your about page is good, people potentially will network with you and draw some connection. They'll understand what your qualifications are and what you're trying to do. But from an EAT perspective, I don't think having a good about page really matters that much. And I hear people say it all the time. And it was only, in the last couple of weeks where I thought about it and I was like, you can write anything you want on your about page, but like, how is Google checking this? And, it's backlinks. It's certainly backlinks. And Jason says, I noticed recently that you put a personal about me blurb in the YouTube description. Not common, but it makes a lot of sense for EAT type brand building. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I've had that in, I think, at least for a few years, but I was like, oh, just like as a default, I'll have the little about me blurb and a link to my about page. So if someone is trying to find information, they can get to it, which, occasionally, this happened recently. Someone wrote a comment in one of the videos and they were like, hey, Doug, I did this. You should interview me. Well, that's great. But, no, I'm not going to go chase the person around. There's a lot of people that I could talk to that are trying to talk to me. So I'm not going to go like chase someone down unless there's like a specific reason. This is just a rando. And basically I put information, enough of a breadcrumb trail that if people want to email me, they can email me. So, one of those things is in every video, there's like a little link to my website, to the about page. And if you look around, there's some contact information. So people can get in touch with me. But anyway, I didn't interview the guy, or I didn't chase the guy down. I probably won't interview him. All right. John says, I like the question from Bonko. Do you need any images at all? Not necessarily, but it does break up the text, and often that's a good thing. So many of my posts would do better with original images. So on that note, I know someone that a lot of us have watched the interviews with Marty McLeod, and he does a lot of custom images, custom, just graphics in general. And it makes a big difference. Not everyone's niche, has that sort of component. But when you think about the product reviews and what Google wants in product reviews, it's like original firsthand knowledge about the products. If you have your own images that are not the normal product images that everyone uses, that potentially, sets it apart because they are unique images. Bonko says, what do you do when you come across a keyword with low difficulty but have authority site that have written for such keyword but haven't fully optimized it? They might have gotten the snippet position. So I would probably publish the article. Saneet says, in my niche sites put content in my niche comma, sites put content without any research backing it up, ranking in the SERPs, and it doesn't give an accurate picture of what the readers want to know about. I would go for 1,200 words as well. Yep. And I think, like you said, depending on the industry, right? Some people may not care as much, but if you write your article and you're citing facts, and then you actually put like the little reference so that people can go check it and verify, that's great. Obviously adds more authority to and trust to the post because you're linking to the resources that help you verify. And yeah, for sure, a shorter, the thing is, like, if you could fit the information into 1,200 words while citing your resources versus 5,000 words of no citations, the 1,200 word is going to be better because what did they write? What did they write in the 5,000 words if you were able to do it in 1,200? And Gaz mentions, if I have to use a stock image, I can manipulate it in Canva to make it unique. And I think that is probably a smart thing to do. And depending on what you need an image of, Canva, like if you have Canva Pro, you have access to like the library of their stock images in there. So that is probably one of the best buys out there if you're doing a lot of graphic stuff. Like I do, YouTube thumbnails all the time and some other just general graphics, and Canva is great. It is such a powerful tool. Okay. So another quick shout out, plug my own podcast here. So I have two of them. One is called The Doug Show. I talk about affiliate marketing and SEO and, well, just some general stuff. Maybe some side hustle things, but a lot of success stories. So you should check that out. It's on all the podcast players out there. And then we got Mile High Fi, which is a podcast about personal finance. It is doing great. Actually, we're interviewing like big, awesome guests. And I have a co-host named Carl Jensen. His story is he retired early when he was 43. And he has a blog called 1,500 Days. So 1500days.com actually shows and shares his net worth. And when he was tracking in the beginning, which was back in 2013, he was, just starting to get interested in retiring early and saving and that sort of thing. And I can't remember what his net worth started off as, he and his wife, maybe like, I want to say it was like 500K, something like that. Anyway, it's ballooned up to at some point in the last couple years, it was over 5 million or so. But you can go check, and he actually it's like a embedded sheet, and you could actually see his allocation of assets and such. So he's my co-host, and his wife's actually a really famous podcaster. Her name's Mindy Jensen. So if you're into real estate, has anyone heard of Bigger Pockets? Anyone heard of Bigger Pockets? It's a sort of a community and platform and website, and they have a publishing branch. So there's books, and then they have some podcasts. Mindy hosts the Bigger Pockets Money podcast, and she's very famous. So is Carl. They're both pretty well known in the personal finance space. In fact, we're all going to be at FinCon coming up in Orlando. But anyway, if you've heard of Bigger Pockets, you probably heard of Mindy Jensen. Okay, John mentions you love the Jasper testing. Yeah, so I've been playing around with Jasper. There's been several videos. I need to record a couple others. There's some other things I need to do in the next few days here. But one quick announcement for next week, I won't be doing a live stream. My dad will be in town, so I am taking that off. So I won't be on the live stream. Tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream on my channel with Alex Cooper and Adam Smith and Mark Mars from Niche Website Builders. And John says, find some other AI to test or SEO tool like Phrase or Surfer or Rank IQ. So John, here's the deal with that. Because I want to test these thoroughly, and here's what I didn't want to do. So I could have done like a quick review video on each one of the big tools out there. And I could have done like 10 of them pretty quickly. Here's the cost, here's what they do a quick demo, and just spit out these reviews like really quickly. I want to spend some time with each one of the tools to see what it can do. It takes a little while to understand how to use these. Even if you go through the training and stuff like that, it takes a little bit of time before you are effective with the tool. So I'm still messing with Jasper right now. It was a brisk, 5 days or so. I think I got the general hang of it, and I'm going to do another few specific videos. But before I move on, I want to make sure I work with Jasper a little bit more. And then, honestly, I know myself. So I know as I'm progressing, and I'm on my 5th tool, I'm not going to care that much, honestly. So I'm going to try to do my job and, spend enough time with a tool, test it, learn how to not do things wrong, and then give every tool a fair shot. And because I'm doing that, I think I'll be able to give better comparisons, because what people want to see is like, should I get Phrase or should I use Jasper? Should I use ScaleNut or Jasper? Or I don't know the other names, but I want to test. I want to test a few of them for a few days, and then I can actually do comparisons. Now, we'll see in a couple months how enthusiastic I am, but it does go pretty quick because I'm trying to focus up. And when I'm using the tool, I'm like, all right, I'm going to spend a few hours looking through this stuff. And I'm going to spend a few hours in consecutive days so I can really build on it, versus, like I said, I didn't want to do a bunch of reviews really quickly and not really understand the tool. Because I think that when I go and, you Google blah, blah, blah review or this tool versus that tool, it's very clear. It's so clear that they didn't really use the tool much. It's like, here's one demo, and here's like the comparison based on what is on the sales page. And those are not very helpful. All right. So we're going to start wrapping here in a second. Got a couple more. John, great suggestion though. I will be doing more tests. It'll just be slower. And John says, you love the trip to the mountain with a dog. It could be the real Doug show or the dog channel. Yeah. So for a little while, I was thinking I was going to do another channel, and I actually launched it. I think there's like 77 subscribers or so. And it wasn't going to be a dog channel or anything like that. But I ended up starting another podcast instead. So I started Mile High Fi instead, but I put out a couple videos, and that is just kind of fizzled out. And I was like, you know what? I just don't have time, but I wanted to do like higher production value, like not as many videos, but like a lot of preparation, like slightly more vloggy. And I'm trying to do a little bit more with vlogging, but it usually throws a wrench in anything I'm trying to do. Elna says, if you have a post that is in spot 4 or more, is it better to re-optimize for more keywords and more valuable content, or do you put your efforts towards link building? So I would optimize the content. I would improve the content, add original images, add FAQs, analyze your competition to see if there's any subheadings or sections or topic areas, secondary keywords that you can cover, and improve the content. Then you can look at link building. But the good thing with optimizing content and improving content is usually you'll get results much more quickly. Daniel says, Georgie needs a channel. Okay. Ahmed says, what's the best way to recover a hit website? Tell about your personal experience. This basically, I think maybe you joined late. That's basically what I talked about the whole time. So quick summary though, review your content, review your competitors' content. If your content quality is a little bit lower than what you thought, improve it. If you observe gaps in your analysis of your competitors, then improve your content so that you have better content. Take a look at your backlinks. Take a look at your competitors' backlinks. If you're doing worse in the backlink area than them, then you should do more with backlinks and try to promote your site. As far as recovering, I do know if you're hit by an algorithm update specifically, it's often a slow road. If it's not an algorithm update, it could also be a slow road. Look back at the video that I did with Marty McLeod earlier this year. I can't remember. I feel like it was around springtime or so. And he talked about losing, I think about 35% of his traffic, something like that. And if I remember right, it took him, 2 to 4 months to recover most of the traffic. Most, not all. You ask about my personal experience, and this is actually, I mentioned this in the coaching call that I had with someone yesterday. So again, knock on wood, I haven't been hit in any of the recent algorithm updates. So while it's fortunate and I'm glad that I haven't been hit by the algorithm updates, none of my sites, it doesn't give me the firsthand experience to explain what to do in the recovery process. And, frankly, I don't want to do that. But that is one thing, in my early days when I first started in 2013, I had a site penalized. I had a site do awesome, and then it was penalized like a month after its biggest month. And then in 2014, I had, I think, like 3 sites hit. Manual penalty, traffic to virtually zero. 2015, another hit. So it took me a little while to learn. The bad part about that was I wasted a lot of time and money. And it feels bad when your site's penalized. The good thing is that I was like doing the stuff on the edge of what is acceptable. So I got a better idea where that edge was. The thing is, that's what everyone was doing then. Anyone that I was studying, they were like, all right, private blog networks, link wheel, link pyramid, web 2.0 links, a lot of buzzwords. And it was all just a house of cards. So the value that I got out of that is I learned, what to do and what not to do, or at least like my risk tolerance level and what I wanted to spend time on. It was good because I had personal experience. So I could say I had a site that was penalized and it was negative SEO, and I recovered it, right? Like I actually hired a penalty expert to help me sort through it all, but eventually it was recovered. So the thing is, like, when you experience the negative stuff, then I can tell you more about it. But in recent years, I haven't had any major issues. So maybe a site doesn't grow as fast, but again, knock on wood, I'm very fortunate. No penalties, no issues with the algorithm updates. Okay, let's finish up here. JDK says, my client website is about flooring services. His site was underworked for some days and now it's going down, although it's getting some more keywords. Any suggestion? No. It sounds like there's no problem here. Is the site, are you publishing more content? Was it ranking well and then the rankings dropped? There's just not enough information in your question here. But if it's getting more keywords, then that's good. And if you're publishing content, keep publishing it and improve the older content. And the follow-up, what's the suggestion for GMBs, Google My Business? I don't do any local business stuff, so I don't know. I have no opinion, no suggestions. Saneet asked, what do I think about Google Web Stories for traffic? Another one I have no opinion on. I think someone asked this a few months ago, and I didn't know what it was then, and then someone told me, and then I forgot. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you enjoy that sort of thing, you can go for it, but I wouldn't worry about it personally. But that's my style. Okay, I think we finished up. We hit just about an hour. We have 34 people that can watch me play guitar for a couple minutes. This is the section where I play guitar, and no one asked me to. So if you're not into that, then you may want to tune out. And I can't remember. I think I was working on something earlier, but I can't remember what it was. Playing earlier, I can't remember. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, guys. And don't forget tomorrow doing the live stream with the niche lifestyle show. Oh, it's a fun topic. I think it's what would you do if you had $10,000 to invest in a website? And good grief, I can't remember what I was playing earlier. All right, so tune in tomorrow, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Thank you. Oh, hey, Trina, what's up? Good to see you on here. And that's it for today.